good afternoon, and welcome to today's Mindful Moment webinar. I'm Evan Judge, and I'll be hosting today, and I've got three very good guests with us, and we're going to be talking about parenting with mental health. So the session will take no longer than half an hour, and we're going to be talking a little bit about the importance of making time for yourself when you're parenting with mental health, but also how you can support your children and loved ones who may be struggling at the same time. So let me start by introducing my guests today, and I will bring them all onto screen. We've got Harjeet Moore with us today, and I will just bring you onto screen. Harjeet, how are you today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you, Evan?
Yeah, good, thank you. I see you're joining us from a different location today, so you're getting out and about a bit more now.
Yeah, it's nice to actually kind of get out of my little office at home, and I've been at Cranwell today attending their recruitment fair, which has been absolutely amazing.
Oh, wonderful. Great stuff. And otherwise, are you doing well?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Kind of enjoying being out and about.
Absolutely, absolutely. We've got another guest with us. We've got Lisa, so I'll bring Lisa onto the screen now. And how are you today, Lisa? You well?
Yes, thank you, Evan. I'm really well, thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us today. You're obviously supporting with the nutrition side of the business while Leanne is out of the business enjoying motherhood.
Yes, just caretaking a little bit while she's off enjoying having her baby. Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, thank you very much for joining us. And final guest today is Andy Rees, ESS Business Director for Wales and West Midlands. Afternoon, Andy. How are you today? Oh, you're on mute. Sorry, Andy.
Schoolboy error already. Yeah, I'm good, thank you. It's lovely weather where I am in Bristol, so always helps, doesn't it? So yeah, all good, thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much for joining us. So we've got a pretty heavy topic here today. Well, not heavy, but quite different to more of our recent topics, in that many people are worried about parenting when they are going through mental health challenges or pressures, and it's natural to be concerned about what impact that's going to be having on your family, your friends, your loved ones, but also your children. So there is that natural concern. It is going to make your depression, your anxiety, or whatever mental health issue you were going through at the time a little bit more compounded. It's also natural to be concerned about supporting a child who might be going through some mental health challenges or issues. So what we wanted to do today was really highlight some useful information and some tips that could potentially help you through these sorts of challenges, or help somebody that you are close to that may be going through something similar. So we're going to be having a great conversation. I've got some questions lined up for our guests, and we're just going to be talking through each of those. What we're also going to do is, towards the end, I've got some useful contacts and information that I'll share on the presentation, and then that way you can take a note of those and look for more information and support. So my first question is going to be to Harjeet. Harjeet, we've got, as a parent yourself and thinking about this topic, what advice would you have to other parents who may be experiencing their own mental health challenges? What should they do if they begin to feel overwhelmed, that sort of thing?
Thanks, Evan. I find this topic really interesting, and if I kind of reflect back to my own personal experiences, I was brought up in a very strict household where you just didn't show your emotions. So, that's just what you did. And my son, who's now 12, I was a single parent up until the age of when he was 5. And he doesn't see his dad that often. And I couldn't understand it when he'd go to school after kind of the summer holidays and the half terms, and he'd started to get really upset when the other kids were talking about their dads. And my son's very shy, he's very quiet, he's very well behaved, but he started to act out at school, and I had no idea what to do. And it got to the point where I was called into the school a couple of times, explained the situation, and the school was absolutely fantastic in terms of talking to him. He's now got a better relationship with his dad, and he sees his dad. But at the time, I remember thinking, I felt like a failure because I felt that I'd let him down. And although I tried to be both parents, you know, nothing replaces a mum or a dad within that kind of relationship. But I found that once I started to talk to him and he felt comfortable talking to me about it, because he felt guilty to say to me that he missed his dad. And once I kind of reassured him that actually it's perfectly normal, it's okay to feel how you're feeling. But because I never had that support as kind of growing up, you kind of you feel a bit kind of, you know, what do I do? Because, you know, I've not had to go through it myself, where I've just kept everything in. So the school were absolutely fantastic in terms of helping me personally. They got me in touch with organisations if I wanted to talk to somebody, and at that point I realised, because I didn't tell anyone in my family, I'm quite close with my aunt. I started to talk to my aunt about all the problems I was having, and that for me was the biggest help. And you know, she's my go-to person if I'm struggling with something or if I need help. I still don't have that relationship with my mum and dad, but I think that's just more of a generation thing. But I do find being able to kind of have an open environment for my son, for him to talk to me about whatever it is he wants to talk to me about, for him to kind of to get upset, to get angry, but just to how to deal with it and how to control his emotions. I found, you know, I did lots of self-reading. The school did like the anxiety and angry gremlin at the time, so where you kind of you write your feelings down and stuff like that. And at the time I thought it was a load of nonsense, if I'm completely honest, but now I reflect back, I can see how it really helped him. So I think for me, you know, it's just being able to have open and honest conversations with your kids, no matter what age they are, and just to be there for them as much as you possibly can. And I always, you know, try and do the best for your children, maybe to what you didn't have kind of growing up. So always make sure that he's got a good support network around him. And also, and everyone will share the details at the end, there's lots of information that's out there, not just for kids but for parents as well. And if I think back to all the great stuff that Evan's put in place in terms of the mindful moments, the meditation and stuff like that, all that great stuff has helped me personally as well. And I do try and get my son to do some meditation, but we just end up laughing and not taking it seriously. But it's still a fun exercise to do with him. So yeah, I think that's kind of what I've taken away from my experience.
That's great. Thank you very much for sharing. And it's good to hear that your son's doing better and has got a better relationship with his father now, and that's helping. So that's great. Thank you. I'm going to ask my next question to Andy, if that's okay. And again, thank you very much for joining us today, Andy. And as a father, what would you suggest to parents who have children that may be struggling with their mental health right now? Is there something they can do differently to encourage conversations about mental health, or possibly a way to bring up the idea of looking for professional help or support? What are your thoughts, Andy?
Well, firstly, I was glad you asked me to join the podcast, Evan, because like Harjeet, I've had personal experience as a parent bringing up a daughter with mental health problems. As you all probably know, it's much more common than many realise. And if there's anything I can share and add that from my experience that helps, then that's a great thing. It's tough. It was tough. It's better now. And similar themes to Harjeet, I think having a network of people around you to help you through that difficult time is really important, whether it's your partner, family members, friends, whatever, because it's a very heavy burden for you as an individual to carry on your own. If they know what's happening and they understand the issues, they can also help, and that really does take some of the pressure off of you. Not knowing why your child has mental health issues or how bad they are is really tough. So researching, reading, understanding more about their problems really helps. And I think one of the most important things that comes to mind is really planning and preparing for those conversations before they happen, really making sure that you've got an appropriate place and a time that you know is conducive to being able to have a helpful, healthy conversation with your child, to try and talk about those issues. I found the best time that the most productive conversations happened was when I took my daughter out of the home and we were in the car just driving. And I think having that kind of neutral zone, a neutral tone when you're driving, you kind of have other distractions as well. It just helped open up the conversations better and easier. And then sometimes it's really hard to understand how they're feeling, and perhaps the implementation of something like a scale of how they're feeling, and trying to understand on each day, perhaps, how bad or good it is for them, and what could be done to make things better. It kind of just introduces that sort of mechanism to be able to measure and to support in some sort of way. Being able to give them activities that they enjoy, try to focus on things that really helps them in their life was important. Be that activities at school, topics, studies, outside of school, things they enjoyed, and also really thinking about their friendship groups and how you can maximize giving them more time in their friendship groups. I think was really important. Knowing that they were happier and safer in those environments just made it easier for you as a parent to do what they could there. And I think it's really, as I grew up with my daughter, that obviously the conversations have matured and changed. So it's really important to be clear and to stick to kind of age appropriate information to be able to for it to resonate with them, so that they understand, and it's simple and not confusing for them. So there's a lot of planning and preparation, I think, at times where you can really get the most out of being able to get a conversation with your child. And of course, there's always a situation where it may just be that they find it hard talking to you, and you do need to, like Harjeet said, find a trusted friend, like a school teacher or another family or friend member that perhaps it helps get them to talk easier and to open up. The one thing that really also helped was knowing that there was support groups out there, and I used quite a few of them. And it depended on what age and what the issue was, but from 12 up to probably 19, 20, and you're still looking for help and seeking advice. And I think again, researching and understanding what each of those groups can do is really important. It may be that you've got friends and family that have used them, so that they can give you some feedback on what they thought went well, or people that really supported and support services that really helped. And I think you've got to look at what sort of help you need. So it might be that you need professional help on a family orientated discussions, which I've had, or even one-to-one discussions where your child just wants to see someone be somewhere with a group of people that doesn't have their family with them. So I hope and think you're going to be sharing the Mind Guide, because a lot of information from there would help in understanding what's around. But I think your GP is your first point of contact if you need to start to understand what else can be there to help you. But it's tough, and make sure you've got a lot of people around you to help you through it. And there's lots of professional help as well as friends and family. But it gets better. Yeah, things are good.
Thank you very much, Andy. That's good to hear that it gets better, and life is good at the moment, so that's really good. Finally, we're gonna bring on Lisa, and we're gonna talk a little bit about what that link is with food and mood. And Leanne and the team have tried to drill into me particularly about how the food we eat can contribute to the way that we feel, and I still don't quite remember that when I'm not feeling particularly well. So Lisa, would you be able to remind us what sort of good things we could be doing? I mean, personally, if I'm feeling low or down, the last thing I want to do is cook food for myself, never mind cook food for my family. So what would you suggest to somebody that may be feeling like that and they need to look after their family and feed them?
Yeah, it's a brilliant question, Evan. And I think if you are somebody who goes through periods of illness, probably is really important to plan for those times. So first top tip would be, you know, if you're batch cooking. So one time if you're making a bolognese sauce, at times when you're feeling well and you're feeling like you can cook up an extra few portions and bung them in the freezer for those times where, you know, you just know you're not going to have the energy to cook. So that'd be my first top tip. And then actually the freezer is always your friend. So when you're going through periods of illness or just low on energy, yeah, Leanne and the team are right. You know, eating really nutritious meals can always help. So thinking about 3 elements of your main meal. So that's your starch, your carbohydrate, your protein, and your veggies. And if you've got a food from each of those food groups on your plate, you're going to be doing yourself some really good favors there. So thinking that your freezer is your friend. Starchy carbs, looking for things like nice baked wedges. If you buy pre-cooked wedges, I mean, slice up a potato if you've got some really if you do have the energy, that's always better. But thinking about starch, carbohydrates, and also whole grains where you can. So if you can cook up a portion of rice or pasta, that's always really good. Looking at veggies, so lots of people think that fresh veggies are best, but that's not always necessarily the case. Frozen veggies are just as good, so there's no preparation required there. You can just plonk them in a pan of boiling water or a steamer and they're done within 5-10 minutes, and you'll be giving yourself and your children you know, at least one of their 5 a day. So things like peas, sweet corn, spinach, trying to think what else I've put in there. Green beans, always really good actually as frozen veggies as well. So keeping some of those in stock, always really helpful. And then things like fish fingers or corn or that go in the freezer, nice healthy protein source there. And that's a really easy way just to kind of bung things in the oven. You've got a nice balanced meal. Something else to think about is putting food on toast. Toast is a great source of nutrition. So making sure you've got wholemeal or high fiber or, you know, seeded bread in stock or in the freezer, and then topping them with some really healthy toppings. Baked beans, and go for the low sugar and salt versions if you can. A bit of cheese on the top. Brilliant, healthy, quick meal. Or jacket potatoes, you can put a potato in the oven, topping that with some canned fish, another really healthy protein source there. And if you really don't have any energy to even just to put the oven on, because we know that we have some really low days sometimes, think about having a picnic tea. So raid the fridge and just have a bit of a picnic. So could it be crackers, could it be cheese, could it be some tomatoes? And you're hitting all the food groups there. It might not necessarily be like a amazing, cooked meal, but you're still going to get all the really good nutrition there. And then when you're thinking about pudding, again, plain yogurt, great. And then if you can top it with some frozen, like defrosted fruit, you've got a really nice, nutritious pudding too. So trying to keep your cupboards and your freezer stocked up with foods that you know you can cook quickly, that they're healthy, that they're balanced, and you know that your family are going to like them too. Because at the end of the day, what you want is your children to be well fed. So making sure it's foods that they enjoy as well.
Absolutely. Well, that's great. Thank you. I like the freezer as our friend. I like that. So we're now moving on to that section where I ask the guests and the panel to kind of provide us with one top tip that we've taken from our Mindful Moment Toolbox talks that we send out each month. So we're going to start with Andy. Andy, what would your tip be?
Definitely to think about yourself and to make sure you're taking care of yourself. If you are in a situation where you have mental health issues or your child does, things can be much easier if you manage to take some time out and to rest and to keep yourself healthy and fit, because it is tough, and yeah, having time to yourself really helps. So make sure you take as much time as you can out for yourself.
That's great. Thank you. I can't agree with that more, to be honest with you. Lisa, what would your top tip be?
Yeah, my top tip would be to build a support network around yourself, and let that support network, whether it be friends or family or colleagues, just let them know that you're finding it hard to cope and you need their support. So even thinking about meal times, you know, could your friend cook your meal if you are struggling? You know, that's you know, that's what they want to help, and I'm sure that they would. Yeah, just asking for practical help from your child's school as well. I think both Harjeet and Andy have both shared some of their own experiences with that, whether it's just keeping an eye on them at school. So there's less for you to worry about as well. And then with work, you could also discuss your working hours with your manager, and see if there's any way there that, you know, making your work flexible or reducing your hours temporarily may also help you to cope too.
That's great. Thank you. And Harjeet?
Thank you. I think there's some great suggestions there. I think for me, one thing I've learned is to have more confidence in myself when dealing with kind of the parenting side of things. I think we all worry about our children. No matter how old they get, they'll always be our babies. And you know, there's lots of support networks out there, but always have the confidence in yourself in terms of what you're doing, and also have the confidence to reach out if you're not sure, whether that's asking questions or getting in touch with organisations.
Thank you very much. Well, that has been a great conversation, and I hope you have found it useful. I'm just going to share with you some, just quickly share with you on the page, just some useful websites, some of which is where we got the information for today's webinar from. So you've got Barnardo's, you've got Mind Charity, Andy referenced it there. There's a great document in the A to Z called Parenting with Mental Health, and that's got loads of resource and loads of extra information in there. So please, if you are struggling or if you know somebody that is, have a look at that. And then you've also got Mental Health Matters, where there's loads of general mental health support services. And one site that I came across as part of doing this research was Gingerbread, which is advice and practical support for single parents. And they've got loads of great resources on there for single parents that may be struggling and may need to reach out and ask for help. So please, I would really encourage you to go and have a look at that if that's something that you would find useful. And then we're going to do our normal, just remind you of all the information and the resources available through ESS. So you've obviously got the Mindful Moments, which this month was parenting with mental health problem. And then you've obviously got the ESS YouTube page and the Instagram page. So go and check those out. This will be available to watch back on there too. So if you want to go and have a look, please do. We've also got the mental health first aiders within our business. Obviously, you can reach out to one of the three people there, myself, Harjeet, or Alan. But we've got a load of mental health first aiders within our business. I believe as of this morning, there was 92 mental health first aiders in ESS. So please do feel like you can reach out to any of those. If you're looking for who your nearest mental health first aider is, if you go and have a look on the HSE website, all the information is available on there too, under the sector HSE and then ESS. I'd really encourage you to have a look, because that network is growing and growing and growing. And then any sort of nutritional or well-being questions, please feel free to send those over to the team. It's ess.wellness@compassgroup.co.uk is the email address, and they will be able to help you. They'll come back to you with a question. And if it's something particularly mental health related, I know that Katrina and Tatiana have been forwarding over some questions to me as well, but they are now all mental health first aid trained, so they are more than capable of answering any of those questions too. So please do reach out if you need to. And then a reminder that you can sign up to the ESS Wellness newsletter, which will come straight into your inbox. If you just email ess.wellness@compass-group.co.uk, it will come over to you. And finally, just wanted to thank you all for joining us today. I think that has been a great discussion. I've thoroughly enjoyed that actually, and I found it very insightful. So thank you all for joining. Our next Mindful Moment will be Exercise for Mental Health, and that will be on Wednesday, the 28th of July at 1:30. So please, if you can, join us. And in the meantime, look after yourselves and look after each other. Thank you very much.